That's a good question. I had a lot of stage fright. Okay, here's a tip from Dar Williams.
Hi, my name is Maggie, and I'm here today with Ponybird. When did you start writing songs?
I would think officially I started writing songs maybe the past 10 years. Officially thinking about making the things that I had written as poetry or little scraps of melodies that I enjoyed to sing to myself and officially turn them into a song format. But I've always done musical theater performances, choir performances. I went to school for acting. I've had vocal lessons, and I've been a musician playing the drums since I was very small. So the actual moving up front to be the songwriter as the person who brought the songs to the band is recent. It was a little bit awkward because I was used to being behind other people and doing harmonizing work or playing drums and rhythm, so I had to do two really important things, which was switch to the main melody and then also play the guitar. I played, but not to the proficiency that one would need to be a solo performer. So I had a friend of mine whose name is Christina Abbott, and she plays under a couple different monikers. One of them is C. Marie, I think is the most recent. And I was her percussionist and backup singer for a while, and she encouraged me to sing my own songs, work on them more, and take risks to perform out. And that meant going to open mics and kind of fumbling and getting through all the nerves and the stage fright of maybe a low stakes performance like an open mic or a small showcase doing two songs. And then I, over the years, have worked my way up to be able to like headline and things like that. But at first, I had a lot of stage fright and I was very nervous. It wasn't natural for me to get away from being behind a drum kit or a microphone accompanying somebody else. It really actually freaked me out.
Which artists or band have inspired you the most?
Ooh, that's a good question. I was actually thinking about that earlier today, and I still feel like it's Ani DeFranco. I can't get over it. Like I'm like, are we still there with Ani DeFranco? And we're still there. Like, she just put out a video that she did with a women's choir in Charlottesville following the Charlottesville attacks. And she did Joyful Girl, which is one of her early hits, but she did it with this huge choir of women behind her. And she had this like really relaxed, seasoned, like I've been through it vibe to her. She had like a lot of gratitude and softness for the audience. And I was like, it's interesting to follow someone through their entire lifetime of songwriting and see how they change as a person. Yeah. And still be on board with it and identify with it. And that's how it, like with her, I was like, wow, she's actually gotten to a point where she's really in gratitude for people having kept up with her this long. And like, I still want to know the story. Like, I still want to tune into the story. And her story is really powerful to me. Like, it's paved the way and given me permission for so many parts of my life. Not just how I songwrite, but like, I think of her songs in a million scenarios. And I was like, no, kind of like, what would Ani do right now? Or like, what did she say about this that changed my mind about this topic? We've grown together over like the past 20 or so years, 25 now.
Do you know of any exercises or games that have helped you learn how to write better songs that you would recommend?
I've had people hand you like a chord of the day or the phrase of the day or the word of the day, and that will work. Sometimes different things work on different days. And that can be really inspiring and refreshing. Or I've had folks who've suggested like swatches of color or looking at a picture. Someone said go buy postcards at the store and write a song about what your interpretation of the postcard scene was. And I did 2 songs from postcards that I really ended up like keeping that I liked. And then I've even seen like a beach ball, and each slice of the color of the beach ball has like a phrase or a chord, and you pass it back and forth. For me, visuals work really well. Yeah. Let's say I have a feeling and I'm like, I want to write a song that feels like or sounds like, and I've done like Bruce Springsteen, and this one sounds like Bob Dylan, this one sounds like the Antlers. And what I'll do is sit with the guitar in front of like Spotify or something. But I do this with Elliott Smith a lot because he's very difficult to follow. And I'm like, okay, I like that chord. What was it about that chord? What was it about the phrase of that that he said and did that I would like to mimic? And I can figure out kind of like a palette. Like he's always using A minor. He's always on second capo. He tunes to this tuning. He does a lot of lyrical like trickster stuff. And so now I've got kind of like the parameters of what I'm going to do to write a song like Elliott Smith. And eventually, because my own flavor, blends in, it becomes my song, but it starts out mapped as a sort of mimicking someone else.
So, as a woman in a male-dominant industry, what sort of challenges have you faced about that?
That's interesting. There's different things I've experienced. One of them is booking agents who talk to you like you're dumb, assuming because you're a woman that they can kind of say things without a filter and you're not going to stand up for yourself. So I've heard a lot of very like lax commentary that wasn't necessarily kind come from like male producers, engineers, and booking folks, and they just figure you're not going to throw it back at them. And when you do, then it's like, the labels come out about the B word or whatever because you spoke up for yourself. There's sort of like this culture that that the men in the music industry can just kind of do what they please and say what they please, and we're expected to be grateful that we have a gig or we're getting paid, and then also have to incur the stereotype of being, unlikable or the B word or whatever because we said something about it. That's one main friction that I kind of want to work with other women about, like talk to other women about, and I think we need to push back on that more. But that's a small step in a really much bigger picture of a completely male-dominated field or industry that, there's a lot more going on than just words being said, but from my experience, the most challenging have been the day-to-day trying to get my art out there and hearing all these belittling or microaggressive comments and having to kind of eat it just to get my art heard and to be able to be present at a gig. One thing I'll do is I'll call a friend that I trust. Like I have a few female songwriter friends that I call and say, what do I do about this? Like, do you hear this the same way I'm hearing it? Or are you as offended as I am? Yeah. Is it me? Try to get a little bit of clarity, feedback from someone else, and then have a response. Sometimes in the moment, I just, maybe say something that I need to say and have to deal with some aggression or leaving a gig, rarely, but have had to say, no thanks, this isn't the right fit for me. And that's okay. And then I have to know that I'm not going to work with that particular person anymore. And I have to be willing to know that I've kind of shortened my network because I'm not willing to work with that individual. Sometimes I know what I say won't correct the person's behavior. Right. So it's really about a choice of whether or not I want to work with that individual.
What aspects of songwriting are you focusing on improving right now?
I need to work on verses. I get stuck in writing verses that kind of get forced into rhymes. And I wish I had a little more comfort with just putting down what I want to say and then worrying about if it rhymes or not later. Like, is that as important as, getting out lyrics that I have feelings about? So I will often write really great hooks and choruses and have a lot of them sitting in a notebook with no verses because I'm frustrated that they sound too sing-songy or cliche and not as natural. So if you have any verse tips, send them my way.
Will do. What do you do when you're writing a song and you get stuck and you don't know where to go?
Okay, here's a tip from Dar Williams. Oh. She always says, take it for a walk. I used to previously kind of labor. She's like, try this, go for a walk. Like, do something completely different, wash the dishes, sweep the floor, just something non-intellectual. And it, the melody and the lyrics persist. They kind of like pop through when you least expect it because you've distracted yourself. Have paper and pencil with you in case this sort of like planned distraction solicits some kind of like breakthrough.
What advice would you give to young female songwriters just starting out?
It's a good one. Find places to play that you're comfortable, like whether it's at church or open mics or some kind of community where you can regularly bring your songs. It's great to play alone, but my songwriting changed immensely when I started to share it with people that I trusted, and I also heard what their process was. And the other is honestly practice. The more and more you practice a song, it's always fascinating to me that you think the song's done and it has like a life cycle to it and it continues to change. So I have songs that I wrote 10 years ago that sound way different than they did in the beginning, and the recorded version is now different than how I perform it because my sort of interaction with the song continues to change it. And there's several versions of the song: the fast version, the slow version, the autopilot version, the you can't tell I'm sick and my voice hurts version, and then there's like when I'm really into it version. I recommend keeping it fresh and like kind of letting go a little bit and seeing where things end up. Having some kind of reference, like a photograph.
Whoops.
That's the end. And that's the end.
It's done. Okay, I'm just gonna tape across the tape on here.
Oh yeah. This one last bit and then I'm done.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a laugh editing this later.
Infamously